best things about the eventing world is that it constantly takes you to settings that just make you go wow, and Burghley House is one of those. Now in its 40th year as a competition and still voted the best three-day event in the world. Over 100,000 visitors will turn up here to watch 100 competitors from 16 different nations as they tackle the different disciplines of dressage, cross-country and show jumping. Some of the familiar faces are missing. They're of course preparing for the Olympics in Sydney, but we still have a top quality field led by the defending champion and 5 times Burghley winner Mark Todd. He's riding here for the last time before retiring after Sydney. Other previous winners include William Fox Pitt, hot from his win at Gatcombe, and Andrew Nicholson, who won here in 1995 and will form part of the New Zealand Olympic team. Chris Bartle narrowly missed selection for the British team, but he's in great form. And of course, there's Veer Phillips, who will be keenly followed both locally and nationally as he aims to fulfil the challenge he set himself after his wife Polly died 12 months ago. With £20,000 first prize money, there is everything to ride for and a host of new talent bidding to make their mark.
I definitely hope I've got a chance for a top 10 finish. He's a good horse, he's been here before, and we've got to give it a crack.
I'm going to give it my best shot anyway.
I would be very happy to finish in between the first 10. That would be fantastic.
It's tricky here at Burghley, up and down, twisty and turny, but perhaps this could be my one.
Well, those are definitely some names to look out for, but of course the first thing you've got to do is be controlled, disciplined and elegant in the dressage arena. Let's find out what happened to the leading contenders with commentary from Caroline Ryan Bell.
Owen Moore and Lord Killinghurst demonstrating a flying change of the leg on perfect marker. Owen finds dressage one of his easier phases. This is a thoroughbred 9-year-old gelding, so fairly young and inexperienced. An extended canter and back, showing an engagement of the quarters. Mark Todd, just a mission, again another young horse. He is the master of eventing and seems to provide us with never-ending passion for getting better at the sport, showing how the different bends through the leg help towards making the horse more supple and submissive. Merrin Wallace and Gershwin demonstrating how the horse can stay obedient and quiet in walk to a square halt, rein back of 4 strides. This requires an incredible amount of obedience from the horse, especially when it is so fit and ready to do the job in cross country. Veer Phillips and Coral Cove. He is riding his late wife's horse. This horse is doing an extended canter. You can see Veer's not finding this the easiest of phases. The horse is swinging in a little bit, not demonstrating the exact straightness we require. Andrew Nicholson and Mr. Smithy demonstrating the extended trot, one of the most elegant movements across the diagonal of the dressage arena. Back up the centre line to a shoulder in. This movement is taught to horses very early on in their life, showing a bend and control again. Darren Chacha on RG Renegade. This will be the horse's first 4-star. Coming up the centre line to a perfect square halt. Horse is submissive and relaxed. The straightness of this centre line is so important coming up for the cross country with the corners and the angle fences, the horse being responsive and relaxed. William Fox Pitt and Moonman in walk, coming to the centre line for a halt rein back. The horse is very quiet. There is a good communication between horse and rider. Will sitting very tall, hardly noticing any movement. He should be striking off to left canter, a little bit of breakdown of communication. Will corrects it very quickly. We'll lose a few marks for that. Here is Christopher Bartle on Word Perfect. Christopher has competed in the Olympics in dressage in the past for Great Britain. Now taken up the sport of eventing and doing incredibly well. An extended canter to set up the horse for a 10-metre circle. He's going to change the rein and show again the extended canter, keeping the quarters engaged, the horse in perfect balance, ready for this flying change. So important for the turns on cross country when you're going from one fence to the other, the horse keeping its balance. Again, extended canter, you can really see he can go for it. He feels so in control of the horse that he can go almost into a gallop and bring the horse back. Again, all these adjustments make the cross-country day so much easier. When you're coming up to a fence, you're always adjusting on the approach, on the takeoff, landing, up the centre line to a absolutely, again, immaculate square halt.
So a narrow lead of just 0.4 of a point for Britain's Chris Bartle over Australia's Merrin Wallace in a tight field with less than 20 penalties or one cross-country refusal separating the top 15. Mark Todd, down in 12th place, Germany's 1997 Burghley European champion Bettina Overesch on Unsung Hero further back in 18th, with first season eventer Veer Phillips and Coral Cove 20th.
Well, it's nice to have had a good dressage under your belt, but I always say to everybody, once you come out of the arena, it's history. So I'll be trying my best to focus on getting it right around the cross country.
Time for a bit of shopping for the fans before the cross country.
Cross country still to come. As you can see, Capabilities has had a bit of a facelift, but this is about the only thing on the course that is flowery. It looks very tough. It's the last one designed by Captain Mark Phillips, and here's what some of the riders think of the questions that he has posed.
This is a new jump, the dinosaur eggs, and what makes it difficult is this narrow approach and also the size of the egg. And what also makes it very difficult is this little flag here, which is going to make it very easy to run out to the left.
Here we are at the Waterloo rails, a jump that requires balance and accuracy, both from the rider and the horse. The best way to jump this is angle the first rail slightly to get a good line to go to the second element. If everything goes to plan, we should land about here, and we have to start concentrating on to the next fence, which is a narrow fence, and to avoid a run out to the left, keep hold of the right rein and hope that the horse keeps straight.
With the two trout hatcheries behind us, you're now approaching one of the most serious fences on the course with a very steep downhill approach, the Irish Bank. The horses are going to get onto the forehand, they're going to be getting a longer stride, and what you really want is to get them right back on their hocks, get them up, and hopefully ask for a nice big jump up onto the bank so that you get the front legs out in front of you. So having got up onto the bank, you're landing into rising ground, which will literally stop the horses in their tracks. So you're going to have to kick across over the mound and ride for a good jump off over the ditch.
So here we are at Keeper's Corners. We've got to, after a long galloping stretch, get them back together again because it's a real test of accuracy. Get a good shot over this, and then it'll be 4 strides down the bottom and really making sure that they stay absolutely focused on this fence so that they don't think about running out.
After a long gallop downhill, you come to the fence, the line bridge, where you have to jump some big barrels. As you can see, I'm not particularly short, but obviously not tall either. So you can see they're quite big barrels that the horses have to jump. I'd like to jump them in the middle, and then you have 2 strides jumping into the water. I think it's a very nice distance as long as you keep thinking forward. That should bring the horses close enough to have a nice drop into the water, a few strides in the water, and then on a nice right-hand turn over the boathouse.
Well, that's what the riders made of the course in theory, but how will they cope in practice? Let's join the cross-country section with commentary from Caroline Ryan-Bell and David Goldstrom.
So here's our Pathfinder, Clea Hoogmad on Feast of Florios. Both contested Burghley a year ago, but found the time hard to get. Today, they've got 12 minutes and 20 seconds, counting down top left, in which to get home over this 7,040-metre track. And this is the first of the 34 fences they face. Coming over number 2, and then it's the Leaf Pit, which this year offers no alternative.
A daunting drop fence where the horse needs to come back into balance. The horse drops down, absolutely no worries.
Now on towards the pedigree poser, The red dots indicating the fastest route. The yellow ones, the two more time-consuming alternatives. So Clear coming in now. I would imagine, Caroline, that she'll take the direct route.
I think most people will do that. It is such a long way round.
The second element a little wider this year, not such an accurate question, but here's an accuracy question. The narrow egg on the right, that's the direct route clockwise. This, the much more time-consuming long route over two wider eggs anti-clockwise. So, going for a direct route, Caroline.
She's coming in at a good gallop, but the horse needs to be set up and shortened. She's going to give the horse a little bit more time to see that egg fence and has come round slightly longer and dead straight for it. No problems.
Nicely done. They'll be gaining confidence now. And here are the Waterloo rails, new fence, and lots of time-consuming alternatives here. Now into these big rails. This is a real four-star fence, going direct where the drop is at its greatest, but that puts you on the right line.
She's coming at a very slight angle to avoid the heavy drop on the first fence, and that set her up immaculately for the second bit.
And Lord Killinghurst and Owen Moore start their challenge. They're coming to fence 5, the pedigree poser.
Setting up the horse again for the sharp turn to the left, driving over the first big fence, quite forgiving with the rounded tops, and like you say, a little bit wider this year, so not so much accuracy involved.
Going away nicely up to the arena. Really good crowds all around this course. And the weather, all you can say really is it's autumn and changeable. One moment sunshine, a few spits and spots of rain, but generally a pretty nice morning at the moment.
Burghley's had so many different weather patterns. We have got the best of the weather today. Setting up again, he's coming in a little bit shorter again, and trust is needed because the horse doesn't see it till the last minute. Just tips it a little bit there, but no problems again.
Feast of Florio's now approaching Burghley's most famous feature, the first section of which is the upper trout hatchery, the first of 6 jumping efforts coming up in the next 30 seconds.
Clear controls the horse, and then a massive jump in with 2 strides in between and out. The horse obviously has no water problems or hang-ups at all. Coming to the cascade again, enormously leap over that. Just balancing, coming down for the steep slope to this Irish band, rounded on top, and it really did knock the horse off the back end a little bit. But she's gathered herself up and gone back into a good gallop for this big Trakehner. Again, no sort of problems, the horse flies that.
And Caroline, they're going much better than they did a year ago.
Yes, she's got a new bit in. It's a rather strong bit. You can see that when she checks, the horse comes back immediately, so they're wasting no time in struggling and pulling up. She really has much better control of the horse. Narrow fence through capabilities cutting, very straight and fluent through that fence.
The red dots showing the fastest way to get through the keeper's corners, but look at all the twists and turns if you want to take a longer route. A lot of time can be lost at this fence.
She's come up from a long gallop, and I would imagine she will take the straight route. Yes, set up. 4 strides, absolutely perfect. You can take the second fence a little bit wider and treat it as a parallel.
And now to the Cottesmore leap, the big ditch. More of a rider frightener than anything else.
I don't think this fence has missed a Burghley. Big ditch, but the horses take it on with ease.
And now down to the podiums. 3 separate fences, but if you can go the narrow route and thread your horse between those flags, you really will save a lot of time.
I hope we're going to see some people do it. Looks like Clear's going to go for the safer option, taking the 2 fences. A little bit slippy. I think it rained a little bit last night. You can see there the horse is slipping a bit. She's trying to regain his balance before turning to do the last part.
So I just wonder how that's going to affect her overall time. We'll see, but here's Owen Moore coming to the Waterloo rails very steadily.
He is steady. I think he's having problems again with the horse being a little bit heavy on the forehand. You can see just tipped him a little bit there. He's having to struggle. Again, straightened up though, no problems there.
And now on to the maltings. two big spread fences, and you need to put the power on here, don't you, Caroline?
You certainly do. You've come from a nice long gallop. It should be a fence which the horses should take out of their stride. See, the horse was pulling a little bit with Owen there, and he's obviously having to set up a little bit more than he'd like to. But away, and two beautiful big jumps.
So the moment has arrived for 44-year-old Mark Todd, now about to start his last Burghley cross-country challenge.
And before he set out cross-country, Mark Todd received a wonderful memento of his magic moments at Burghley.
I'd just like to say...
But the words just wouldn't come. It was a very emotional moment. 5 times champion here at Burghley, and this place has to be all his own.
It took me a long time. I mean, I won my first try at badminton, but Burghley sort of eluded me for quite a while, but then suddenly it seemed to click, and I had a run of really good wins, really. And so no, it's always a lovely event. It's always great to come here. It's a very friendly atmosphere, and you know, it's been good to me.
With such an incredible track record of victories over the 20 years that he's been here, it's not easy to pick out a highlight.
Any major win, like any badminton or any Burghley, is special in its own right. And you know, I've been lucky enough. I've probably had more than my fair share of both of them. And plus, you know, the Olympic Games and with charisma, and it's very hard to sort of pick out any one particular win out of any of them. But you know, I've had a great innings over here, and thoroughly enjoyed it.
And the outstanding example Mark Todd has set over the last 20 years has been instrumental for the development of eventing over here.
I don't think there's any other country in the world where you can bring a horse on and get as much competition and mileage as Britain.
Most of the Olympic competitors are already in Sydney, so why is Todd here?
Well, I mean, it's always been a policy with the New Zealand riders that we sort of, you know, treat Olympics or major championships as another competition, and we run the horses, our other horses, right up until the time we go. I guess it is a bit of a risk coming here, but you know, this was a very good horse, and he was one of the horses that might have gone to the Olympics, and so I certainly wouldn't be riding anything that I'm not happy with. And you know, it's going to be my last time here at Burghley, so I really wanted to come.
And he's keen to go out with one last victory.
Oh, we didn't come here for the beer. You know, we're here to try and win, and you know, a lot can change on Saturday. I think the course this year is probably a bit softer than certainly last year, and it probably won't be as influential. But you've still got to jump a clear round. You've still got to get inside the time. If you look down the avenue of all the past winners, the majority of people have won it more than one time. I mean, there's myself, Ginny, Lucinda, Richard Walker. You know, a lot of people, if they win it once, then chances are they're going to do it again.
Well, they're a little bit off the pace after the dressage. 55 penalty points, but I've seen this happen before, and I think you have as well, Caroline, how this man puts it around and suddenly finds himself moving up the order. And this is a promising partnership. They were third a year ago at the 3-star in Blenheim, very good graduating competition. Fourth also last year at Chatsworth, and more recently 8th in Kentucky in the Lexington event there, which is also a 4-star, the highest grade of 3-day event cross-country course as it is here at Burghley.
Certainly has a good CV, this horse, to work on. Mark steadying him up, letting the horse just pop off the drop.
I think just about everything he does today is going to be applauded. Down to the ditch, fairly straightforward, before he turns left-handed to run towards the poser.
This horse looks so relaxed. It's his way of going. Mark has this amazing ability to form a partnership with any horse. His judgment for each fence, steadying it up. He hardly moves out of the saddle and then drives on to the next fence.
Now, we've seen one or two variations in the arena. I can't imagine he's not going to go straight. Very interesting, that egg, the narrow one, which I think he's going to go for. That little flag on that left-hand side, a lot of them thought when they were walking the course, Caroline, that it really was a bit short. They wanted a taller flag to help them.
Yes, Mark has certainly pulled out all the strings for this fence. It's a beautiful fence, beautifully made. He's steadying him up again. No hassles with the horse. Horse sees it, lovely big jump, very straight.
So a solid start for the master as we go back to the trout hatchery for Owen Morning, Lord Killinghurst. And I must say, Caroline, he's still very steady.
He is. You can see the horse is quite on his forehand. He's quite pulling down. Oh, Owen's done a good job to stay balanced and drive the horse through the bounce up and brush. He's obviously a little bit more tricky in water, so he's going to have to really pull the strings and use his stick and push him over that cascade.
Coming to the halfway point, so there's a guide time for us, Caroline, and he's 33 seconds down on the pace.
You just get a feeling that he hasn't been able to let this horse out of his stride, just in case he buries himself. You can see he's very heavy on top of that bank, and it's causing that rounded top is causing a little bit of unfooting for the horse. Pushed on straight out over that chicane. That's a good let-up fence, as we call it, after a tricky middle part of the course.
Clear, and Feast of Florio's coming to these big casks at the top of the Lion Bridge. Couple of strides down into the water.
She seems to have a very good partnership with this horse this year, hardly having to take a pull and always pushing him on.
Waterloo Rails coming up for Mark Todd, and Just a Mission.
He's coming round to take a slightly different route. It's a little bit longer on time, but he's obviously got immense control of this horse. The drop on that, not so tall, and just asks the horse to pop over that.
Nearly home, Clear, Hoogmad and Feast of Florio's just 2 to go as they pass Burghley House, but they won't be taking in the view as we are. And this is a really good round, and she's not that far off the time, I reckon, Caroline. She's really gone pretty well. I haven't seen one major mistake, just checking the watch as she now comes down to the 34th and final fence. The pedigree rosette. Just steadying. No problem there, and you can see the time penalties top left there just ticking up. But this is a very good round, and there are a lot of riders who'll be watching this to see what they can learn. 66.2, the new target.
Excellent trailblazer for the day.
Now Lord Killinghurst at the podiums. Now, is he going to try and make up some time here, I wonder?
Again, he is looking very heavy on that forehand. He's going to go round. He obviously feels that something's not quite right. Doesn't trust the horse enough to go straight.
Owen, who thinks a great deal of this horse. Locomotion back in the early 90s was where he came to fame in a way. And now Mark Todd at the trout hatchery. Let's enjoy this.
Lovely jump. He's going to get his 3 strides in and makes so little effort. Mark seems to stay with the horse all the time. You really can't pick a fault with him.
I think this cascade is much nicer. The design's just been modified a little bit more, but as you said earlier on, it doesn't seem to cause any problem. And there's Mark Todd, and he's got some time to find, 24 seconds, so this is going to be quite interesting.
He is down on the clock, but this is a young horse, so he will be giving the horse time to take in each fence. Oh, and he's having to really give him some encouragement to get him off that top of that bank. It would be rather embarrassing to be stuck on the top there.
No problem with the captain's log for Mark Todd. And Owen now coming down to the Lion Bridge. There is a choice of routes, but he's going route 1.
This is the quicker route. Again, he's giving him a lot of encouragement to get him into that water. It does make you wonder. Checking and off again for the home straight.
Gershwin and Merrin Wallace starting out. This really useful horse, now 13 years of age, made a name for himself, the horse, that is, when Merrin lent him to Andrew Hoy for the 96 Olympics in Atlanta. Finished a very respectable 11th there.
She looks like she's meaning business this time round, coming at a great gallop into the arena. The horse's ears are pricked. I would imagine she'll come inside the short route. Again, checking, giving the horse time to see the fence, and a massive jump over that.
Yes, Merrin representing Australia, but based down in Gloucestershire. As we go back to Mark Todd, who's also spent much of his life down in Gloucestershire, but has spent an awful lot of time in the last few days trying to pack up to get everything together as he negotiates the corners without any problem. Flying on Monday to Sydney with the family.
A very, very big jump over, makes that fence look absolutely nothing. He is a big horse, so that would be very little to him. Ears pricked, looking as if he's got lots of running left in him. Let's hope he's going to go the straight way. Setting up. It's on a slight dog leg with one stride. He makes, the horse did not touch the fence. Absolutely fantastic.
So Lord Killinghurst and Owen Moore nearly home, but as you can see from the time top left there, all those little problems have added up to an excess of more than a minute now, and I'm afraid those penalties are going to knock Owen down the order quite some way. It may not be apparent at this early stage, but it will be by the time this day is done. But he's home safe.
Merrin Wallace and Gershwin really showing how to gallop out of the stride and take on these two big doubles.
He jumped the fences and was fantastic on a line and brave everywhere and did everything, but instead of having a balanced horse uphill that I could ask, I felt I had to pick him up a little bit, which wasted God knows how much time.
And now Mark Todd down to the Lion Bridge. And they all seem to be setting up for the centre of those two casks.
Does seem to be the favoured route. Again, big jump in. This horse does not seem to have come out of its rhythm at all.
Over the boathouse, less than 1,000 metres from home for Mark Todd, but a lot of work to do still for Merrin Wallace as she comes into the trout hatchery.
She's certainly meaning business. Massive jump in, two strides, bounce up. The horse is giving plenty of room over that brush fence. She's waking him up, ready for this cascade fence, which can appear unnerving for the horse, but no, absolutely no problems for her.
And there you can see 18 seconds over. That's not much, that's pretty good. It's right on terms with the performance Mark Todd was doing, certainly in terms of time. She comes to the Irish Bank, big leap up there, and not really any hesitation, straight off and over.
No, that horse has really done it, how the rounded bank should stop the horses in their track, and then they should pop off.
So here's Mark Todd, responsible for no less than 5 of New Zealand's 7 victories here in the past 13 years. No nation in recent times has got anything like that record, and it's a good effort here. He's over the time, but this is going to be good enough for second place for the time being. People everywhere, 70,000 in the park, a good many here to wish this man well.
This the most emotional story of Burghley 2000. Veer Phillips riding his late wife Polly's Coral Cove.
Oh, runt. Absolutely delighted for everybody and the supporters who've been giving me so much support over the year, that we haven't had an injury and a setback through all the qualification process, because if we'd had an injury or Coral had got an overreach and it had stopped him going to the next stage with me, we couldn't be here. So it's a relief that it's all gone quite smoothly.
It's been a long year for Veer, travelling to Polly's old hunting grounds, following in her path.
What meant the most to me really was to win Polly's Memorial Trophy, which was in Scotland. That was a very emotional competition, and I never dreamt we'd get Coral's name on the trophy first. But Scotland, Eglinton and Auchinleck, where he won, was a very strong track, and then Gatcombe again had strong fences. So having walked the course here at Burghley, I feel that Burghley's a mixture of the 3 tracks. So those 3 events have really given me the confidence to have a cut on Saturday.
Cross-country and show jumping is second nature to Veer, but dressage, or stressage as he calls it, hasn't been easy.
Dressage was completely alien to me, and I've had to work at the dressage. And it's all because of the trainers that have helped me do it, and all because that Coral's been so highly trained by Polly. I've found it very stressful, and I always thought it was very tedious, but now I'm getting a little bit better at it. I actually quite enjoy it a bit now.
Combined with Veer's riding talent, his eventing partner Coral Cove has been recognised throughout the sport as a rare and exceptional equine individual.
He's got an amazing engine.
an engine meaning he keeps going. Even if he's tired, he'll keep going. He's very nimble on his feet. If he makes a bit of a mistake, he'd try and pick himself up and not fall. And he can jump out of speed. And that combination, and he has a lot of scope because he's a Grade B show jumping horse. So he would probably have more scope than a lot of the event horses here. My aim was always to try and have a realistic chance of a top 10 finish. If I don't make a mistake, I'm sure the horse won't. We'll do our best to finish on a dressage score if we possibly can.
And one can only admire Veer's determination to support the sport in which his wife lost her life.
The sport gave Polly immense pleasure. It's a great sport. It's great fun, and it's been a real tonic to me.
And Veer, who lives just 30 minutes away, has got fans of all ages on his side. But having said that, he's really focused. He's stayed here on the grounds at Burghley. He didn't want to go home and risk distractions. He's really focusing on this challenge. Comes here in very good form, having finished a tremendous 4th place in the British Open Championships at Gatcombe. So fingers crossed here, Caroline.
He's got a tremendous little horse beneath him. The agility of this horse is quite remarkable.
Now the leaf pit.
Steadying up. Again, just trotting to let him pop off.
Nice start. Now Gershwin and Merrin Wallace. They actually were 5th in Gatcombe, and you can see the reins tumbling down as she takes the corners and turns left-handed for the big ditch.
Merrin still meaning business on this course, even though it's the furthest point. The horse still has an enormous amount of jump in him.
But Caroline, you know from riding around here on Hooray Henry that all these undulations, they take their toll. You do get tired.
They do indeed, and with the rain coming down as it is, she must be feeling a little bit stressed. And going for the straight route. Again, showing a bit of a dog leg again, similar to Mark Todd.
Veer Phillips, pedigree poser.
He's such a nimble little horse. He doesn't make anything of that.
Still relatively young, only 12. Now, this is a really positive start. It seems to me, Caroline, that he's determined to keep on the pace all the way round if he can. Now the arena going clockwise, so that tells us that he's going to take one of the straight routes.
Yes, he's setting up again, coming in for that short route. The horse, giving the horse loads of time to see it, almost back to a trot. And off he goes. The crowd really behind him.
I'm only too pleased that I've had a clear round, actually. With the Olympics coming up, you know, a lot of people have said, you know, you're mad coming here and doing it, but, you know, it's what we've always done, and I'm pleased I've done it now. It's, you know, a really nice confidence giver going into the Olympics, and as I say, the horse went really well.
Well, here's a rider who didn't quite make it into this year's US Olympic team, Beal Morris, Pathfinder.
Pops off that, lands on both 4 feet, slips the reins, and perfect for the next fence, keeping the contact.
Just over 1,000 metres to go for Gershwin with Merrin Wallace, and still going very well and really enjoying this Merrin now. Confident that she's got the experience to do her best and not let Gershwin down.
She's certainly keeping up the encouragement with this horse. You could hear lots of voice going into that trout hatchery.
Waterloo rails for Veer Phillips. Coral Cove, who, as you say, Caroline's got such an impressive record. Going Route 1, no problem there. Oh, isn't he neat?
He's so clean over these fences, makes absolutely nothing of it.
And Beal Morris into the arena. This is a very promising horse. Now, she's going the very long way. 2 jumping efforts, the wider eggs.
This is the first time we've seen this being ridden this way. As you can see, you don't lose your rhythm so much on the first turn, but it is a haul back for those next S-bend back.
Well, she can probably afford 1 long route, possibly 2, but not more. And here's Merrin Wallace, who certainly hasn't had the best of the weather, but she's given absolutely everything. She's still less than 30 seconds over the time, but she's going to add a few more time penalties, but the main thing is that once they're through this pedigree rosette, they're home free and they're safe now, and it's just right for the line. And you can see there's not much left as she goes through there for 60.4 penalties, but that's good enough for the lead.
Yes, grit and determination from there.
Veer Phillips.
2 enormous strides. This is only a small horse and he really makes nothing of any of these fences. Veer steadying up, ready to attack. Coral making nothing of that.
And again, there was that a little wave to his supporters? I don't know how he manages to do that. And he's only 4 seconds over. That's incredible.
He's completely absorbed in this, and with the crowd so much behind him.
Rowdy comes to the log. Oh, that's enjoyable, isn't it? And now up the hill. Away he goes towards capabilities.
Horse doesn't look tired at all. He's obviously used his Leicestershire countryside to get this horse fit. Narrow jump, pops it. A massive jump.
Beale Morris and Pathfinder, they know each other pretty well, and they've got some good form coming here. 10th in America at Lexington in the spring.
It started raining when I was halfway around. It was a little slippery. I think if it rains anymore, it will get slippery. I think I motored on, but as he's such a big jumper, he wastes a couple of seconds over every fence, so that's where I dropped the time. But I'm very pleased, and I really wouldn't have wanted to go any faster, I don't think.
A very focused looking Andrew Nicholson, 5th after dressage on Mr. Smithy. And again, a partnership that come here with high hopes after a very decent result in this year's Gatcombe British Open just a couple of weeks ago, where they finished in 6th place.
First 2 fences always help to warm the horse up, fairly simple.
Now down to the leaf pit, already having just a little check, make sure the watch is working.
Yes, trying to regain the horse's concentration. Ooh, big jump off there. An enormous jump over that.
Veer, sure he's going to go straight here because
he's gone for the very wide bit on both sides. The agility of this horse is really spectacular. Sets him up for the Crossmore leap and jumps that fantastically.
Trout hatchery, Beale Morris.
Again, they seem to be jumping it very big in. This horse has really helped her out with a few trot strides in there, shuffling its feet, ready to bounce up and out.
Going pretty well, and they're very much in touch in terms of time. You can see the clock counting down there, and they're just 10 seconds over at this particular point.
That does seem a good time. They're coming up to the Irish Bank. A very good jump up. The horse again stopped in its tracks and off.
Now Andrew, I imagine he's going to save every centimetre if he can.
He's certainly got it. Oh, nearly came off his line. Again, that's a terribly narrow gap, and the horse only sees that fence at the last minute.
Veer Phillips, the last big question on the course for him and Coral Cove. Absolutely relishing this.
The horse's ears are so pricked, I think even the horse is enjoying the crowd.
Giant leap over the boathouse, and they're almost there. Beale Morris coming up to capabilities. One stride.
Left a few legs, the horse almost knows there's a drop behind, and so is braking himself on the fence.
Andrew Nicholson not following in the footsteps of Mark Todd, going route 1.
Big jump there.
Oh!
The horse just completely missed its line, and how Andrew managed to stay on. Mr. Stickability or what?
How on earth? By all the laws of gravity and physics, that's impossible. You can't do that, but he's done it. And Veer Phillips has also done it, nearly there now for Veer Phillips, and look at the time. That is absolutely incredible. He's now just going into penalties now and really challenging. He's not just going around here, he's really challenging to get a high place finish here. 10-11 seconds. It won't be the fastest round, but my goodness, what a terrific effort. He's gone third.
The horse looked absolutely full of running, all credit to him.
And Beale Morris now this is not Route 1, she's taking the longer route, turning round to come back for the other two podiums.
She's already taken a longer route in the eggs in the centre of the arena. Question is, how many seconds can she afford?
And there's the applause. This challenge that Veer set himself has really captured the imagination of the public. Mr. Smithy.
Very neatly into that. I think Andrew's got some more glue back on his jumpers. He's not going to let that happen again.
Well, there's no question, Caroline, the gods are certainly on his side so far today. I still can't believe that. It's quite incredible. And look at that, even despite all that, he's still just 10 seconds down.
Andrew's experience is really showing here. Comes up to the Irish band very neatly on and off.
RG Renegade and Darren Chacha on top for the United States. And really riding here through the Maltings combination.
All the staff, they've all been so supportive, and they've stayed with me for Polly, and the whole public who've turned up. It's just unreal, the atmosphere, it's fantastic.
Andrew Nicholson, an integral part of the New Zealand Olympic team. Over the narrow part, one stride through, down, and safely over. Beale Morris past the Burghley Towers, where she had an uncharacteristic fall last year. And look at this, it is a good performance. She's the fastest American out on the course, that's for sure, with Pathfinder coming to the rosette, and only 15-16 seconds over. It's 0.4 of a penalty point for every second over the time, and that's put her into third.
Here's a fellow countryman, Darren Chacha, coming to the trout hatchery. Again, two strides, lovely big. They do seem to be jumping it well this year.
Yeah, he's a lovely big horse, isn't he? 17 hands.
Yeah, he's certainly covering the ground. Oh, stumbled a little bit after that fence. Makes you wonder if there might be a hole developing.
Not far off the time. He's the man who's setting the pace. He's the man who's walked the course. This is the first time his horse will have seen it.
He's up onto the bank again. It seems to be riding in the same fashion.
Andrew Nicholson.
Absolutely dead straight on these corners.
That was as perfect as it gets.
Not losing any time coming up to that Cottesmore leap.
And now heading for Winners Avenue, the trees on either side, the plaques commemorating the 39 previous winners, including Andrew himself back in 1995 on Buckley Province.
Andrew's taken all the straight routes so far, but not at this one. The horse looks as if it's pulling quite a lot, so he obviously feels he can't risk a run out at this later stage.
31-year-old William Foxpitt and 9-year-old Moonman at the Pedigree Poser. They come here in fine form, having won the British Open Championships just a couple of weeks ago at Gatcombe. And no problem there as they stride on up the hill towards the arena and the dinosaur eggs. And William really keen to do well here. He'd hoped originally to find a place in the British Olympic squad. It hasn't worked out, so a good run here. A victory would be some consolation. He's already won Burghley back in 1994 on Sharka.
He's setting the horse up, coming on the narrow route. No problem again there. That little flag doesn't seem to be causing a problem.
William very happy with Moonman. Little pat on the neck there. And now Andrew Nicholson.
Coming to the last of the problems. Plenty of encouragement, an enormous jump into the lake, and he's driving through the water. Really wasting no time at all.
Well, Darren Chachia must be feeling pretty good now. Much better than last year when he didn't, unfortunately, get any further than the dressage phase. It was on another horse, but this big fella is really looking after him round here.
He appears to be having a wonderful round. Big jump over that.
Andrew Nicholson challenging for the lead now as he comes to the rosette. You can see the time there, and he's looking to get inside the penalty score of Merrin Wallace and Gershwin, who hold the lead for Australia on 60.4, and he's going to do it. Not very many metres from that rosette to the line, and to take the lead for New Zealand despite all the acrobatics of the Waterloo rails. Andrew Nicholson goes first.
Moonman and William Fox-Pitt in full gallop, taking on this double of log piles in their own stride.
To make a bad mistake like he did and stay on his feet, that's what they've got to do. You know, some horses can make a mistake and they feel like they quit on you and lie down. This one wants to carry on, which is a big plus.
Well, soon to start, the overnight leader after dressage, Chris Bartle on Word Perfect, but coming down to almost the end of his round here, Darren Chachia, and yet again taking the direct route. This has been a popular way.
It is a little bit easier this year. When you get to this stage in the course and you've been through the first trout hatchery, this shouldn't be a problem at all.
In the lead, Andrew Nicholson, Mr. Smithy, then Gershwin, and then Clear Hoagmud on Feast of Florio's the first to go. But here is Chris Bartle, man who's very shortly after this event to depart for the Sydney Olympics, where he's going to support the British team with his expertise on dressage. But now he won't be thinking of that. He'll be thinking of trying to win Burghley to add to another major title, the badminton championship that he won back in 1998 on this horse. 12 years old, 17 hands, and Chris Bartle at the age of 48 enjoying a terrific partnership with this horse.
Yes, he's a big horse, and I remember Chris saying a long time ago that he had an awful lot of trouble back in pre-novice. It's hard to believe that this horse had any trouble looking at it now.
Well, this is an excellent round, and you can see the time is pretty decent, and he's going to be absolutely delighted with this, I think, Caroline.
Horse looks a little bit tired, but still concentrating on the last fence, and
a chance really of putting himself into the top 10, which will be a terrific effort. And just for now he's in 4th place, but there are still, of course, 1 or 2 strong challengers to come. And here's one of them, William Fox-Pitt.
Doing a massive jump in. The horse has balanced itself and pops out over the bounce.
And William, well, he knows everything about this particular sport. His parents, both of them, competed at badminton and here at Burghley, and his wife's actually also in the competition today, but there you can see he's just 23 seconds over. That's what he's got to find if he wants to avoid time penalties.
Not bad at all, up and over the Irish bank.
And here's Chris Bartle. These two men, William Fox-Pitt and Chris Bartle, carrying the British hopes at the moment for a competition which, not for the first time, Caroline, is being rather dominated by riders from down under.
Yes, the challenges from New Zealand and Australia are always scratching on our backs. Strong gallop into the arena where Chris will check him and I'm sure will take the quick route. Back to, oh, he was very lucky there. He almost checked him too much. As you can see, the horse came back into trot and then didn't know where it was going.
Here's William.
One stride down onto the road. Kept his momentum going all the way through.
Now, Chris Bartle. Nicely done through there. Quite narrow, but that's okay.
Chris seems to have his own style of riding. He's quite long in the rein, but his horse seems to respond beautifully.
William Foxpitt still going well, just needs to pick up those seconds if he can.
Powering towards this big fence. No horse seems to have a problem with that.
Going down Winners Avenue, needs to get through the podiums, but arguably, Caroline, this would be a moment once he's through the podiums to try and pick up some time. There's a good galloping section down towards the Lion Bridge.
It's very difficult to make. You have to make up your mind quite early on, and being this stage in the game, sometimes you feel, is the risk worth it?
Well, if you want to win Burghley, you have to take some chances.
And Chris really powers through that water. One enormous jump in and 2 strides. He's still, with his reins quite long, but keeping the contact and encouraging the horse all the way.
And again, that's pretty good. Only 12 seconds to fight, and that's really possible.
Yes, he's right up on time compared with some. Horse taking that bank. Again, they're all jumping it in the same fashion. Moonman and William Foxpitt, the rain is starting to come down. Oh, Will could really see. The horse just seemed to switch off, and Will felt this from about 2 or 3 strides out. From this replay, you can see he's really attacking it. The horse is just looking to the left, has no intention of going over. It's a young horse, he's only 9 years old. He's had a fantastic season up till now.
No, what a pity. Second time, and there's no problem here going into the water as the rain begins to pour down, but I'm afraid the damage is done. 20 penalties for that refusal, and I'm afraid it's not going to be Williams' year in 2000, but it could be this man's. Keeper's corners for Chris Bartle. Down and up and left and onwards.
Chris really making sure that his horse was not going to run out there and choosing the very wide part of that second corner.
Well, inevitably, William will be feeling a little low now as he comes to the last. Those 20 penalties, you can see on the clock there the damage they've done, but for that he would be only 20 seconds over at this point and still in with a chance of a high finish. And all the more disappointing after his victory at Gatcombe had given him such high hopes of taking another major this year. But not to be, I'm afraid, down to 19th for now.
Christopher Bartle and Word Perfect coming to the last of the water. The straight route. The horse seems to be knowing exactly what it's doing by now. He's having a great round.
Indeed he is, but it's all down to the clock now as Chris goes to the boathouse.
He felt terrific, and I just got him back for that water, and he shut down on me. One of those things came around the second time, he jumped through fine. What can I say? I'm obviously disappointed, but I'm very pleased he's finished fit and well, and he's only a 9-year-old, he'll be there for another day.
So British hopes very much on this man's shoulders. Christopher Bartle and Word Perfect coming to the Burghley Towers. They've got to keep this going. It's pretty tight for time, and we'll get a check as he comes into the final couple of 100 metres. Here we come now towards the Rosette, and he's not, I think, going to do it 52. Remember, Andrew Nicholson on 53.8, so he's over and he can't retain the lead. It's just a question of whether he can hang on and stay as close as he can to Andrew Nicholson. 57.6, and still counting up here for Christopher Bartle, and that's second place and exactly 60 penalty points. So still in the lead, Mr. Smithy with a 6.2 advantage over Word Perfect, but less than 5 points separating the next 6, with 5 different nations occupying the top 5 places. However, not everybody enjoyed a clear round, and this is how some of the others lost their chance of the title.
Lucy Vigas-Marron Quinton coming down the hill. She must be feeling pretty happy by now. She's only 23 years old. She was incredibly successful as a junior. No problems into the Lion Bridge and powering on out.
Yeah, right up there on the clock, and another man who's doing pretty well is Ireland's Eric Smiley. From youth to experience, 49 years of age, from Ballynahinch in Dublin, and he soars over the big Cottesmore Leap and heads towards Winners Avenue.
He's a real character in eventing, known as the grandpa of eventing. He's coming in to tackle the straight route by the look of it. Yes, beautifully through on a dog leg.
He and Irish Patriot, 12 years of age, going really well and also going very quickly. Another man in the early stages of his round. This is Graham Law.
Brother of Leslie Law, who's at the Olympics. He gets through that capabilities cutting, no problem.
Lucy coming towards the finish of her round. Look at the time, only just now going into deficit there, and the penalties beginning to click up. But this is a really good round here.
Setting up for the last fence, you wouldn't want a mistake there. And encouraging the horse through to the finish line.
Excellent, and is she in the top 10? Indeed she is, in 8th place. That is terrific. Eric Smiley coming down now to the Lion Bridge, to the two big casks.
Again, pushing him through the straight route. This really hasn't caused many problems in the event.
Not a foot wrong yet for Graham Law, Plantagenet of Rushall, 10-year-old. Nicely through there, and he's still, by our reckoning, very, very quick. Turning round to the leap.
Horse looked as if it was backing off a bit, and Graham had to use quite a lot of voice to get him going and take that fence on.
Down towards the podiums now. I fancy he might go the straight route.
No, it doesn't look like it. He's going for the first fence, back towards the double. Not as slippy now. The horse is turning a lot easier than earlier in the course. And then one stride. Again, giving him a lot of encouragement.
Well, yet another excellent round about to be completed, this time by Eric Smiley. Competed at Barcelona and Atlanta, and I just wonder, Caroline, what the selectors in Ireland might make of this, should they have left him out. We'll never really know, really, but whatever happens, this is a very good effort. You can see 30 seconds over, just a little bit more, but that's 71.8 penalties, and he goes into the top 10.
Back with Graham Law, again coming down that hill. He's really using his voice to get him into there. He doesn't want any mistakes now.
Well, I think he's going to be on the drive all the way home now.
Do you know, I'm an old timer at this sport, and this is my first time here. In 85 I was supposed to be here, the horse goes lame. In 80 and 97 horse goes lame. I'm here. I'm loving every minute of it. It's great.
Here's Graham Law, just 2 to go, and what a terrific round. His older brother Leslie down under in Sydney would be proud of him now, because he's not far away from the finish, and he could just be the last man with a chance to get inside the optimum time and stay on his overnight dressage score of 59.6. He's got 12 seconds to get home. He can't overtake Andrew Nicholson, but if he can stay on that score, he would go into 2nd place, and that means a move up from 26th after dressage. He's going to get 1 or 2 time penalties. This is a fantastic effort. He's not got 2nd, but he's gone 4th.
Have a rest now before the show jumper. Yeah, well, he's normally a good show jumper, so fingers crossed.
So it's the 1995 Burghley champion, Andrew Nicholson, who's in the lead, this time with Mr. Smithy, but with only 1 show jumping fence in hand of Chris Bartle. And there are less than 2 fences separating the next 8, including Veer Phillips and Coral Cove. Mark Todd, as you can see, is 11th, but with a clear round, that could help him move up. The championship is still wide open, and that means a nervous finale for them all. Well, a good day all round, and plenty will be back tomorrow for the show jumping that will decide the destiny of the 2000 Burghley Championship.
As always in three-day eventing, the safety of the horse is paramount, and they do have to undergo a vet's inspection after the strenuous cross-country course. One of the leading contenders, RG Renegade and Darren Chacha, failed that vet's inspection, which means the top 10 changes slightly in that Veer Phillips and Coral Cove move up to 7th, and Mark Todd on Just a Mission is now 10th. So the leading contenders for the show jumping go in reverse order. Let's pick up commentary with Caroline and David.
Around it couldn't have been, well, it could have been a lot better. I could have won it, but it's a great way to finish and a great confidence booster to go off to Sydney.
And another truly warm reception this time for Veer Phillips and Coral Cove, the last chapter in his personal challenge. And he's got 80 seconds in which to get round this course clear. And his nerves must be really jangling, Caroline.
Yes, even himself, he's ridden up to grade B show jumping and the horse up to grade A. But still, anything could happen in that arena under such a tense atmosphere.
Yes, he's in 7th place, but if he does put in a clear round, it's going to put pressure on all those above him. And remember, everybody ranked 2nd, right down to where he is, in 7th place, are covered by less than 5 penalty points.
It's quite a twisty course this year. They've shortened it by 2 fences. Got to remember that the horses are a little bit tired from the events before on Saturday, so it does require an immense amount of obedience from the horse. They're twisting round a sharp left-hand corner to a very large parallel. Coral jumps that absolutely beautifully. So that all the time you're shortening up and then pushing them on in order to make this tight time.
Round to the last 2 fences. Everybody with their fingers crossed, over one, over the other, and he's inside the time by 1.92 seconds, but he holds his position in 7th place, 64.6, and the challenge is completed.
I was a bit worried about the show jumping. I thought, well, I'm allowed to mess up the dressage, but I better not mess up the show jumping. So I was actually probably more nervous in that than I've ever been in the big classes with the grade A show jumpers.
Well, this is Beal Morris for the United States, just a single point ahead of Coral Cove. And the last American to win this title was Stephen Bradley back in 1993.
Each show jump that they come to has a related distance between each one. Inside, you're counting the number of strides as you come up to the fence. She's coming round to a sharp left-hand corner. She's taking quite a wide swing. And then back round to an upright, which needs to bring the horse back a little bit. Related distance onto a big triple bar. Again, back round the corner, coming up to the triple. The horse really must keep its balance. No, exactly 2 strides in the first part to 1 stride.
Clear so far.
She swings round to this big parallel, making nothing of that.
Just needs to keep this moving on, Caroline. She's okay, but she hasn't got a lot in hand. Remember, there's nothing between all of these rides. 2 seconds, 1 second. She's going to be over the time. She's jumped clear, but she's picked up some time penalties and in fact dropped below Coral Cove and Veer Phillips, who moves up to 6th place just by virtue of those time penalties. Well, that really is an indication for all those who are about to follow just how tight this show jumping course set by Die Body is in the arena today. Well, now the lady Clea Hoogmud, who started the cross-country round. Fantastic performance to put herself into 5th place.
She's wearing the same bit as she did in the cross-country. She obviously feels she has an immense amount of control now. She is coming round to the big parallel. This horse is a very clever horse, has got a big jump into it. She did tap that one a bit.
And there's no doubt, Caroline, she has the chance here for the best result of her life.
A top 3 position at Burghley would really set her career off. Swings round, got to keep covering the ground even on these sharp corners.
They may not be Hickstead size show jumping fences, but to this rider and this horse, they're of that proportion as she comes round to the last 2 and 8 seconds. She's counting down the clock, but that's good enough, and she holds on to her 5th position ahead of Coral Cove. But remember, there are still 4 who can stay ahead of her. And here's the man who hails originally from Hereford, Graham Law, on Plantagenet of Rushall. Oh, he's given that a clout, and in fact, that's gone.
Yes, I think that was an unlucky start. He's got to really keep his cool head now for the rest of the course, because another fence down will drop him right out of it.
Yes, plenty of valuable prize money. It isn't just the £20,000 for the winner. There's 15 for the second, 10,000 for the third. So this is important.
Well, Graham did say in his interview that this horse was generally a good show jumper, so we'll keep our fingers crossed for the rest of the course. Gave that one a bit of a clout, but it stayed. Swings round for the triple.
Round he comes to this big spread. Over that, all right. 3 from home.
Gave him a hooked him up there really to get over that upright, coming to the last.
But he's already over the time, as you can see, and I'm afraid 72, 73.6. He's down into 10th place. So the top 3 to come. Gershwin for Australia, just coming into the arena now. Then it'll be Word Perfect and Chris Bartle for Great Britain, and finally Mr. Smithy and Andrew Nicholson for New Zealand.
This horse has got an exceptionally large jump. It looks incredibly well after Saturday's cross country. If Merrin can hold it together and her nerves, I think she'll be right up there.
There's only ever been one Australian victory here, and that was Andrew Hoy way back in 1979.
You can see the horse is giving the fence an awful lot of air, but is not covering much through over the top of his fence, so could come down on the back rail if she's not careful. She's got to keep the momentum going.
She's got through the treble all right. Coming round now, and there are 4 fences to go. Just keeping an eye on the clock. She looks okay at the moment. Over the spread. That's okay. Now the corner. Just about going to be O-time. Is she okay? Oh, she's going to squeeze in. And just squeezes in and holds on to 3rd place, 60.40. 60.4. Tremendous 3 days work, and that's what it's all about, the pedigree trophy. Who will collect it? Chris Bartle now in Word Perfect. He's won badminton, but he'd dearly love to win here at Burghley. Well, he's given the first a clout, but got away with it. And he cannot afford to have a fence down. Remember, Andrew Nicholson, who's going to follow him, has got 1 fence in hand. So Chris Bartle has got to go clear to keep the pressure on. He's the last British chance.
He's turning the corner to a big parallel. You can't afford to let yourself be unnerved by any rattles.
Now turning round for the treble. Oh, and that's gone. And that's 5 penalty points. And that really provides the cushion that Andrew Nicholson has been, in a way, hoping for, because he now has 2 fences in hand of Chris Bartle. But, of course, he's only got 1 over Gershwin, who is now his closest pursuer.
And Chris must still keep his head. I mean, there's still a lot of money to be played for here. So a clear last fence.
Inside the time allowed, but I'm afraid the 5 penalties have knocked him down to 5th place. So near, but so far. Just look at this, coming in again.
The horse just gets a little bit under it, takes it out with his back legs.
So up to 2nd place goes Merrin Wallace with Gershwin. But now, Miracle Man, Mr. Smithy and Andrew Nicholson, how on earth did they survive that? Well, they did, and they lead, and now there are just 13 jumping efforts between them, and for Andrew, a 2nd Burghley Championship. He's got 1 fence in hand, but no more, coming to the 2nd.
It was an amazing piece of stickability. He must be feeling lucky to be here. He knows that he must jump a clear round.
Maybe he feels that the gods are on his side this year.
You never know. He's coming up to an upright, which is always a harder fence for a horse to jump because it takes a little bit more control.
And it really has gone absolutely quiet in the arena now. Wife Jane at the edge of the collecting ring and just holding her breath, I think, now.
He swings round to this very big parallel again.
Over that, 3 to go. Remember, he can afford to have 1.
He's got 1 fence left to jump.
Merrin looks on. It's New Zealand versus Australia, and it's New Zealand who take the title in the shape and form of Andrew Nicholson, who squeezes inside the time to stay on his cross-country score of 53.8. And so the Burghley champion for 2000 is Andrew Nicholson and Mr. Smithy.
I could have the 1 down, and as long as I was quick enough, it'd be all right.
So Andrew notches up New Zealand's 8th Burghley victory, personal best for Merrin Wallace, Clea Hogue Mudd and first-year eventer Veer Phillips, whilst Mark Todd says farewell from 8th place. A good, competitive Burghley with a number of promising performances. But this day belongs to Mr. Smithy and Andrew Nicholson, who now heads to Sydney for his 4th Olympic Games on cloud 9.
Well, I think the thousands of spectators now departing will have enjoyed one of the most memorable Burghley Championships in years. A wonderful victory for Andrew Nicholson and Mr. Smithy, but also a superb performance by Veer Phillips and Coral Cove to finish 4th. What a wonderful tribute to his late wife, Polly. And Mark Todd, on his final appearance in Britain, finishes 8th. We won't see him again, but we will be back at Burghley next year. It's been fabulous. Hope you enjoyed it.